Cafe Victoria with Bruce Williams on CFAX 1070.
On a beautiful sunny day, which we knew was coming, we just had to wait for the fog to move aside. A little wind picked up. Gorgeous day today. Beautiful day for a drive. A number of us from Victoria have made the drive to where we all sit right now in the beautiful Vancouver Island Conference Centre in Nanaimo. This is an event called the State of the Island Economic Summit that's put on by the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance. As we've been saying to you, the Premier will be a part of this program tomorrow when she is here to do a keynote address at lunchtime. The CEO of BC Ferries, Mike Corrigan, is going to join us. He will be here tomorrow as well. But coming up today, my friend and colleague Ian Jessup is here to talk with, among other people, Gary Mason, featured columnist from the Globe and Mail. We're going to talk about the state of industry in different sectors like green economies, what's it going to take to protect your nest egg that's going to get you through the rest of your life. But in general, we're here to talk about economic development, which means the economy, which means growing it on Vancouver Island. The organization that runs this event is called the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance. George Hanson is the guy who runs that organization. George, how are you?
I'm good, Bruce, on this bright, sunny day.
It's a beautiful day. The thing that kills me about this is all the people that come here to Nanaimo, to this facility, first of all, and realize it's world class. This facility is amazing.
Yes, well, I was just touring before lunch started. I was touring Gary Mason through the ballroom for where he was going to be speaking. He walked in and said, "What a beautiful room! Wow!
I know.
How many does this seat? You know?
Yes. How many does this seat?
Well, you can seat 1,000 people for lunch.
Yeah, it's amazing. Anyway, lots of folks come up for this every year. This is the 7th annual, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We CTV, we've been proud to be a part of this from the very beginning. What's the purpose of this event? Why are all of these hundreds and hundreds of people here today and tomorrow?
The purpose of it is to come together and think together. So everybody that's here gets a chance to hear what our panelists, our speakers have to say, think along with them, ask questions, learn about what the state of the economy presently is and where it's going. What do we all need to do, whether we're in local government, in small business, in corporations, in universities? What do we all need to do together to ensure a vital and sustainable economy moving forward from here?
Because a lot of people, kind of on a regular basis think, well, I have no influence on that. That doesn't affect me. There's nothing I can do. Actually, there is. That's why this is here.
Well, there's a lot that can be done because a lot of these leaders that are here representing the various industries that they work in are here not only to present their message, but to hear what people on the grassroots level have to say back to them about what is going on and what is needed.
I mean, there's some really top-line people that show up for this. I mean, they're industry leaders. We that don't work, for example, in forestry or in tourism or anything, may not know these names, but these are the big wheels. These are the ones that make it happen.
Yes, well, one of our panels, as you mentioned earlier, is in green technology.
Yeah.
And we have Elmer Sum, who is the managing director of the Green Tech Exchange at SFU here today, and he's brought a number of his colleagues with him. And the Green Tech Exchange, for instance, has a vision that includes Lower BC and Vancouver Island in making this part of the world the center for green technology in the world. They see a huge opportunity here. There was something in the paper today about Washington and Oregon following the BC lead on the carbon tax, for instance. Well, there's a big movement happening there, and we are right in the middle of it.
There's even a solar watch me talk here, solar food security project that's happening on Vancouver Island. It's the Sauk First Nation that are involved in that. That's going to be discussed here today.
Absolutely. Yes, the Sauk First Nation, the leader of that particular technology is here as part of that panel to tell us what's going on in Sauk.
And Ian Jessup is going to have an extended conversation with a guy that was on with Al this morning on the morning show here on CFAX, Paul Manson from Seabreeze Power. Just world leader in what they do.
Yes, and there again, we've got so much changing and happening in the whole world of energy, because BC Hydro is rebuilding the John Hart project in Campbell River. Fortis BC, the VP of Fortis BC is here to tell us where things are going with natural gas and changes in technology there, as well as all of this green stuff with these big windmills up in Port McNeill, Port Hart.
It's funny, people all over the world have this expectation that all the people in Vancouver Island are probably the greenest place. They have this image of the hippies and everything they do. We could be a lot greener.
We could be very much greener. And there's a lot happening in that regard, and we're going to learn a lot about that at this conference today.
George Hanson is our guest. He's with the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance, and they are staging this event for today and tomorrow. So we're going to talk as well on the program about the title of this is Your Money money or your life? How will we protect our lifestyle, the golden goose, while growing our communities and our economy? Which kind of addresses the idea that a lot of people come here to retire. Well, a lot of people have their eye on that, too.
And, we have seen through statistics and surveys, et cetera, that we've been a part of, that there's no shortage of people that want to be on Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
What they're all interested in is, how do I come to Vancouver Island and make a living? And the challenge there is we have to have an island-wide picture of what we want to be when we grow up. Yeah. We have a huge opportunity here, because Vancouver Island is about the same size as Taiwan.
Yeah.
And the total population of the island is less than a small village in
Taiwan, really.
Part of the world. So people want to be here because of the lifestyle. How do we grow our communities, grow our economy, and preserve the lifestyle that we all cherish and love? It's a critically important question for us to answer.
And the green folks that we spoke about earlier are going to make sure that we have that balance between nature and what we do to grow and grow prosperity and attract it. Now, a lot of people come to Vancouver Island first as tourists. Let's not ever forget that. Huge number of people employed by tourism on this island, and that's going to be covered here, too.
It is. One of our keynote speakers is Roger Brooks of Roger Brooks International out of Seattle, Washington. He's a world-recognized expert in destination marketing.
This event had a lot of attention, actually, around the world last year, and certainly across Canada, because Mark Carney was here for one of his last gigs as the Governor of the Bank of Canada. I think the fact that he chose to come here kind of indicates that this event is on the map.
It's definitely on the map, and we've learned that this year since our Mark Carney event last year, that people have stood up and said, wow, this is a serious thing. These Vancouver Island Economic Alliance people are doing something here, and we want to be part of that.
Yeah. I've been a part of this since day one and have seen the number of people grow that come here, and the diversity of them grows, as does the program every year. But you know what? There's still a lot of people that came the first year and are still coming now, and they see the value in it.
Yes, absolutely.
You've got a number of sponsors that come forward to make this happen, too. That's important because they generate this thing. They give you the dough to make it happen.
Well, we're very proud of the fact that we've worked really hard to keep the cost of attending this event down. It's still under $400, and you could compare that to any event of this caliber anywhere else in Canada, and I guarantee you it would be probably double that price.
Yeah.
And the reason we're able to keep it down is because of sponsorships like we have with CTV. Our premier sponsor this year is the Nanaimo Airport. Canadian Western Bank has been behind us since day one. The Nanaimo Economic Development Corporation is a big sponsor this year. We have a whole list of sponsors that help us make it affordable so that small business people in nonprofits and business associations, et cetera, can afford to be here.
Now, when we talk about the $400, the way to look at that as well is if you were to look at this program, which you can do online, the website for this organization is VIEA.ca. To consult with a lot of these people individually would cost you thousands of dollars if you were to pay for the services they provide. So this is kind of a one-stop shopping thing.
And the networking opportunity is huge because it's not sector specific. There are a lot of conferences out there. You can go to the Professional Association Conference for XYZ. You can go to the government conference. You can go to the sectoral conference for forestry or energy or whatever it is. They're all here.
Yeah. Ongoing as well for this entire event from the very beginning of when this summit began, engagement with and discussion about First Nation investment and economic development within the bands and the money that they manage. That has become a little bit more front and center in all media in the last many years, but in particular the last 5 or 6. This event from the very beginning has paid great attention to that and continues to do so.
Yes, and we have a panel on First Nations dialogue today with First Nations leaders. We see that with increasing numbers of treaty settlements and reconciliation, et cetera, that the First Nations on Vancouver Island are going to be playing an increasing role in the prosperity of our economy. A lot of people don't realize there are 53 First Nations on Vancouver Island, and something that's going to be launched at the summit today actually is a new website for VIEA.ca, and we have with funding from the the Island Coastal Economic Trust.
Oh, ICE
has assisted us, and we have a premier page on First Nations, so that you can go on there and a single click can communicate with any of the First Nations on the island.
You know, and the value of that, I mean, if you're listening right now and you don't happen to own a business and you don't think at any point that you're going to be doing business with First Nations, this is a huge part of everything from reconciliation to dialogue for economic development. If you want to understand the money issues connected to First Nations, that's a great place to go.
Yeah.
That's going to do it. Just for fun as well, we're going to talk about some of the other stuff here, like Mission Possible update. That's going to happen today, or tomorrow. Oh, that's tomorrow. Sorry. That's something that's happening tomorrow. But engaging with nonprofits, too, because when you take a look at the amount of money that nonprofits account for in our economy, that's an element of this, too. I mean, everything from the United Way to the Cancer Society to Tour de Rock to Heart and Stroke, there's a lot of dough tied up there, and that's a part of our economy.
Well, we often don't appreciate the fact that there are a lot of good medium-level jobs in all of our communities where the nonprofits are active. They're not only adding to the economy, but directly from the standpoint of providing jobs and bringing funding to the community, but they're making the communities more livable and desirable, which ties into the economic growth, because you can't have economic growth if you're in a place that doesn't have the services and the desirability where people want to live.
Yeah. One of the keynote rock stars at this event tonight here, we're at the Island Economic Summit in Nanaimo at the Vancouver Island Conference Center. George Hanson is with the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance. So the rock star tonight is the president of WestJet. Oh my God, WestJet is just an amazing story in Canada. So the dude that runs that's going to be here tonight.
Absolutely, and we're very excited about that because WestJet has built up its service and is clearly investing in a belief in the future of the economy on Vancouver Island. We're very curious to hear from Ferio about what is it that's going on in Vancouver Island that gives WestJet confidence to invest to the degree that they are?
Yeah, Ferio Pugliese is his name, and he's the keynote for tonight. But you look at it, they have changed. WestJet service has changed the Comox Valley. Mm-hmm. I mean, people flying to and from direct from Edmonton and Calgary and connecting with the rest of the world. Oh my gosh, the economic development, to come back to that term, in that valley has been remarkable.
And we're seeing the same thing in Nanaimo now because of the direct flights to Calgary, and it's proving to be extremely popular.
And of course, Victoria's had WestJet for a long time. Okay, the most important question perhaps of the day, George, is about the Boston Red Sox, because you're a Boston guy. You're a Red Sox. You and I had the Tiger Red Sox conversation a while ago. You win.
Well, but you know what, Bruce? Kudos to you. Yes. You and I are forever bonded on this because when the Red Sox did beat the Tigers, you put your loyalty behind the Red Sox on behalf of our friendship, and I really appreciate that. And
I'll do
now
what
we've got a 3-2 lead, and we're taking it back to family.
And they knew that you were going to be busy here tonight, so the next game when they can probably win it is tomorrow night.
I really appreciate that they skipped tonight so that I could be there.
What a great team. What a great bunch of guys. George Hanson is with the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance. Again, the website for the organization is VIEA.ca. The State of the Island Economic Summit is where we are live today from the Vancouver Island Conference Center. George, you have a luncheon to run. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce.
We'll catch up later. So more content from this event coming up today. A whole bunch of things, including Ian Jessup is going to be here with some of those industry and business leaders that we spoke about. He's got that coming up after 1 o'clock. Coming up today, we're going to talk about how you can best sort of keep your lifestyle going and have a lifestyle and a balance with business as well. And where is the forestry industry at? Going to talk about that as well. Coming up on CFAX 1070.
Bringing it to you a la carte. It's Cafe Victoria with Bruce Williams on CFAX 1070.
Hello. We are live today at the Vancouver Island Economic Summit. We are in the Vancouver Island Conference Center in Nanaimo, where hundreds of people are here. A lot of them are from the capital region, actually, to talk about the things that we discussed just a couple of minutes ago with George Hanson as well. Reminder that tomorrow around this time, our guest will be the Premier. The Honourable Christy Clark is going to join us. Mike Corrigan, the CEO of BC Ferries, is going to be here as well, of course, because transportation is a big issue on Vancouver Island. You know what else is? It's forestry, which is being discussed in one of the sessions for that today. The founder and the economic developer of an organization that's a consulting firm on a number of things. Patrick Marshall is with us today. Now, Patrick, the organization that you're here with today, show me your name tag once again.
I'm with the Coastal Forest Workforce Initiative.
Right. So the thing today that you're going to be doing in this session, you're going to be moderating that with a number of people, is what is the future of forestry on Vancouver Island? Where's it all going? So the question I have for you is what's the future of forestry on Vancouver Island and where's it going?
Well, it is. It hasn't ever left. And I think that's the biggest thing to point out. Over the last year, I've been working with major employers and contractors to try and focus on a workforce strategy that will continue the legacy of the forest industry on the coast. And it's still here. Yeah. And in many cases, we found just in the last year that some communities thought that the forest industry had receded because they lost a mill or a pulp and paper mill.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how in the last 10 years, the forest industry has kind of gone through this image change. So tomorrow, or today, this afternoon, pardon me, we're going to talk to a few of the major employers and talk about where they're at in terms of their market and where they believe that they're going in terms of the future, which is now. The future used to be like 10 years, but we know in business that that's become kind of like an 18-month cycle. Because things that happen to business happen instantly. It's not something that you have time to adjust to. So they're getting really good at it.
I mean, you look at markets, you look at trending around the world, where the potential markets are. You look for places that have had huge natural disasters, unfortunately, like Japan and places like that, where there's going to be some sort of a market for lumber. But locally here, the profile and the recognition of what this industry looks like for us has changed drastically.
Well, I think it's also changed in the fact that you can't see it. It's become like tech in Victoria. You can't see it. They don't drive around cars that are a particular color. They don't have Kicksai logos on the side of their trucks.
Right.
And it's the same with the forest industry. So we've always associated it over its history on the island coast with the color of a truck, but now they're not visible.
You talked about the mills that have shut down. The whole catalyst situation is the one that's been highest profile with that. But, related industries here in Nanaimo, the Harmac mill, for example, was purchased by the employees. It's doing fine. It's a new model.
And so is Port Alice.
Yeah, there you go.
And here we have Timber West. I'm hoping today they'll share part of their plans to be a diversified company. They're getting into renewable energy. Can you imagine a harvesting company getting into renewable energy? It makes perfect sense.
But that's the evolution of it, right?
Well, certainly. And that's where we're going next.
Yeah. The people that are going to be here today, I'm going to tell you who's a part of this. One is a guy who is the director of HR for Island Timberlands. He's going to probably be pretty frank about what's going on with them, isn't he?
Certainly. And the idea here is, and this is what I've tried to bring to my panel, is that the whole point to VIE is to point out what's hot and what's not. It's not to say that forestry is important, but where's it going so that business people, community leaders, our Aboriginal leaders can have a better understanding of how they connect with the industry. It wasn't that long ago where the major employers used to have conference calls and be like talking heads. Well, that time's gone.
Yeah.
We can't do that anymore. And you need to know who your forest industry is in your backyard. We've had situations where mayors on Vancouver Island didn't realize that they had a small business with 75 employees in their own community.
That's pretty sizable, actually.
It is. That's a major employer.
Yeah.
They just don't drive colored trucks anymore.
Right on. Timber West is going to be here as well, talking about their circumstance. I mean, they all still have their niche, don't they?
Well, certainly, and they're all different. I had some discussion in the run-up to the State of the Island Summit that they would all respond the same way. Well, we weren't asking the same question, and they're all very different. Western Forest is different from Timber West, is different with Interfor. And as well as the contractors, we'll have Dwight Yoakum, who's the executive officer for the Truck Loggers Association.
He won't be singing. It's not the same Dwight Yoakum.
No.
Right.
And he said that his whole laugh.
I know.
So it's not funny anymore.
No. I didn't mean it to be funny, Patrick. I was just
pointing
people at home are going, Dwight Yoakum.
No.
I haven't seen him around. He hasn't been singing for
Dwight's been in the forest industry a long time.
Yeah.
And we're very lucky to have him.
But that's the visible part. The logging trucks, we see them all the time. They're everywhere.
And they're independents.
Yeah.
And the independent contractors, the hand fallers, the supply chain, the suppliers of vehicles, they're all part of this.
Patrick Marshall is our guest on CFAX 1070. He is the chair of the Coastal Forest Industry Workforce Initiative. Workforce, to me, is the important word there. We've heard a lot about the skills shortage and the skills shortfall and the projection of, well, we don't have what we need. Well, how does that apply, or does it apply to forestry?
Oh, certainly. And it's interesting. I just got back from working in the Philippines, and guess what they have there? A workforce shortage. Can you imagine? They all moved to Canada.
Is that right?
And I suggested to the mayors that I was working with down there, it's about 1,700 local governments that, first of all, I thank them for lending us their friends and family, but if they called them all back, our economy would stop.
Yeah, really.
And so I think in terms of the forest industry, we've created a generation of students that are interested in, guess what, conservation. We've got the Souk Kindergarten, which is forest kindergarten, but it's focused on conservation.
Right.
But there are no jobs in conservation. And a lot of our training facilities for professionals in the forest industry have closed, and now we have a shortage of professionals for the forest industry.
Well, how can that be made up, though? I mean, who has to start picking up the slack there and start teaching?
It's quite simple. And nothing against lacrosse players, but how many lacrosse academies do we need? And I know you'll get mail from this, Bruce. I'm sorry.
Probably. Sure.
How many lacrosse academies do we need in our high school system? I would suggest that we need resource academies. And I don't care if we get them interested in the ocean and marine space or the forest, whatever. It's
who are you talking to about that?
Well, that's the focus for this workforce initiative, and that's the subject of another panel I'm facilitating.
Well, I mean, is that education ministry? Is it skills ministry?
It's everybody. First, we got to get the industry on the same page, and then we go to the educators, both the private and public sector, and talk about how they can refine their curriculum. And then we got to go to the teachers. There's two great programs on the island. One's in Port Alberni, and the other's in Campbell River. They're doing it now in grade 10. And I would suggest we got to push it back to grade 6. Because we've got kids with capability, and we're just not capturing their attention.
Well, it could be a pivotal time because post-secondary colleges and universities, of course, have reduced funding from government all the time, and they have to find private or external funding to make that happen. So if the industry is going to invest in creating their own workforce, maybe this is the perfect storm.
So here's some of the examples we're looking at. There's a project in New York City where IBM covers from grade 6 to grade 12, and the first 2 years of college for a post-secondary degree. You work, then you're obliged to work for them for 4 years until you're a free agent.
Oh, that's like the military obligation.
Exactly.
Got any websites off the top of your head we can go to learn more about this?
Well, WorkBC is the place to go in British Columbia with respect to workforce, and that's a province of British Columbia place, but we are just in the process of establishing the human resource strategy for the coast. And it'll probably be made public in January at the TLA conference.
Well, this is just one of the many things being discussed here today at the Vancouver Island Economic Summit. Patrick, you're another guy that's been around pretty much since the inception of this event. You and I have seen this thing grow. This is a very important get-together.
It is, and I think, we have day-to-day business where people have got their noses in the grindstone. This is where micro, small, and medium enterprise lift their head up to take a look around and see where the opportunities are. And this is the place to meet them. We have chambers of commerce, local governments, employment organizations, advocacy groups, environmental groups, social enterprise, even the small business BCs here. And they're the ones that can help you make the right decisions and make an informed decision.
And when people go into these, they're called concurrent sessions here, but people break out into different rooms and talk about things. None of this language is ever over anybody's head. All of this is very colloquial.
It's got to be plain language. There's no point, and I just came from a culture that lives for acronyms. I think Filipinos are great Scrabble players. For the bang for their buck in the day, there's no point. So to me, it's kind of like stand-up. I'm a volunteer. I do this voluntarily because I learn a lot, and it's a great opportunity, and I really encourage people to stand up. And by the way, Bruce, thank you for all your volunteer work for Vancouver Island over these years. I see it all the time. A lot of our citizens don't see it, but if I could give you the Order of the Commonwealth of Vancouver Island, I would, but it doesn't exist.
Thank you very much. Well, I follow the lead of people like you that have been doing it for a long time as well. So thanks for your part for being here today. Patrick is going to be moderating one of the You're at 3 today, is that right? At 3 o'clock today. Patrick is the chair of the Coastal Forest Industry Workforce Initiative, and his session is called Forestry, the Next Generation, because there is one. We're going to take a break and come back. We will continue with what we're doing here at the Vancouver Island Economic Summit. We're at the Vancouver Island Conference Center in beautiful downtown Nanaimo. More coming up on CFAX 1070.
Thanks for stopping by. It's Cafe Victoria with Bruce Williams on CFAX 1070.
Hey, we are live today from Nanaimo at the Vancouver Island Conference Center. It's a facility that would just take your breath away if you've not ever been to this place. All the people that come to this event every year kind of walk in from Victoria and Saanich and places like that, look around and go, wow, this place has got it going on, which it really does. This conference is in its 7th year. 1 year it was actually in Victoria, but it's here in the Mid-Island because people do come here from all over Vancouver Island because it is the State of the Island Economic Summit to talk about what's going on. There's a session happening this afternoon called Your Money or Your Life. Now, when we have these conversations that we've been having about growing community, growing prosperity, Some people say, well, you can't do that and maintain the pristine beauty and the gorgeous place which we live. Well, actually, you know what? You can. And one of the sessions this afternoon is about that. It's called Your Money or Your Life. A couple of people joining me to talk about that. Sheila Malcolmson is the chair of the Islands Trust Council. We'll tell you who they are in a moment. And Dallas Gislason is the Economic Development Officer for the Greater Victoria Development Agency. Dallas, I'm going to begin with you. You've been on this program before. How are you?
I'm well, thanks very much, Bruce.
Good. This is an economic development event, and that's what you do. You are an economic developer. Explain your job. Give me the airplane conversation. Somebody says, so what do you do? Yeah. Well,
It's a tough answer, right? A lot of people, their eyes will glaze over. Economic development, economics, right? But
yeah.
I always say, it's not really about economics. It's about working with people that want to make stuff happen and help that stuff happen. Entrepreneurs, risk takers of all shapes and sizes. And of course, today we're going to get into the kind of that whole kind of catch-22 is, do we pursue just endless growth, or do we try to balance that in some way that sustains our quality of life and our environment? And the answer is yes, we do need to sustain.
Because you represent the charm that is Oak Bay and the pastoral piece that is the Saanich Peninsula and parts of Saanich and the bustle of downtown Victoria to balance the growth with the charm.
That's correct. Yeah, it's really the most complex algebraic equation of all time, isn't it? Because you're talking about
now you're talking economics.
You're talking about exactly. You're talking about a whole bunch of people that have an income, so they have some way of paying their bills and sustaining their lifestyle.
Yep.
But in order to be sustainable, you need to have that income. So it's kind of like I said, it's a catch-22. You want to protect the environment, but people need household incomes to survive, and that's what I'm going to be talking about in the session is how do you ensure that environment, like the Saanich Peninsula, the beautiful agricultural landscapes and wineries and all that stuff is protected.
Yeah.
But in the context of we live in a vibrant urban environment where you do have entrepreneurs, you have risk takers, you have people that are working all over the world but choosing to live on Vancouver Island, right?
Well, it's all about the balance. Some place that, of course, that always has opinions but is also front and center with the charm and the character of the West Coast are the Gulf Islands. The Islands Trust is the organization that kind of monitors on the political side, I guess we could say. The Islands Trust Council, the chair of that is Sheila Malcolmson. And Sheila, first of all, welcome to you.
Thank you for having me.
You live on beautiful Gabriola, which is right over there from where we are in downtown Nanaimo. Let's explain to people what the Islands Trust is.
Back in the late 60s when Gulf Island lots were being subdivided up in a super fast way and being sold off at the PNE, $50 down, a lot of people started to have concern about the pace of development and the absence of any zoning or regulation. Regional districts had only just been created at that time, and they definitely weren't thinking about the far-flung Gulf Islands. So an all-party committee recommended, and the SOCRED government of the day legislated in 74 that the Islands Trust would be created, 470 islands, and over those, all through the Salish Sea, up to Hornby and Denman, down to Saturna on the U.S. border, and over to Bowen and Gambier and Howe Sound, we do zoning.
Right.
Regional districts continue to do garbage collection and dog capturing and so on services.
Well, it's a stewardship too, isn't it?
Yeah, we do zoning, but with a lens of preservation and protection of the area. So I'm on the panel this afternoon to bring that rural perspective in, the same questions, but definitely at a different scale.
I would have to go out on a limb, and I don't mean that in a rural way necessarily, but the anti-development or the people that are concerned about development or even gentrification on the Gulf Islands per capita far outnumbers urban areas. Is that fair to say?
People have been attracted to the islands because of how they look when they arrive.
Yeah.
Really like the mix, and there are summer cottage owners and summer visitors as well, all drawn to the islands because you do have these beautiful, funky artist colonies, beautiful open meadows, fishing, farming, really in lots of ways it kind of represents BC's coastal upbringings. It's just that we've been able to hold on to it a little longer. Not that there aren't new people coming all the time. In fact, since the Trust was created, its population has grown at twice the pace of the rest of British Columbia.
Really?
Yeah. And there's lots more there. Yeah. Not a
I didn't know that. No.
So we had 6,000 or so when resident population in 74. Now there's 25,000 residents. 13,000 non-resident property owners. And, of course, in the summertime, we welcome everybody from Victoria, Vancouver, Seattle. And we fill the ferries to the brim to bring everybody over.
I guess, really, when you think about it, if you do drive around or paddle around or sail around any of the islands, whether it's Quadra or Denman or Salt Spring or any of those, you will start to see more and more people building, carving a little place out of the island.
Yeah. Big time. Property values have gone up enormously in the last 10 years. A lot of the islands that kind of had been undiscovered got discovered. Real estate speculation has been good in some ways for the residential construction industry, but it has had some real impacts on affordability. And it used to be that you would go to the Gulf Islands, you could buy a house for $100,000. Does not happen.
Oh, no, you really can't, indeed. Sheila Malcolmson is the chair of the Islands Trust Council. She's here today to be a part of a session called Your Money or Your Life, and Dallas Gislason is the economic development guy for the Capital Regional District in Victoria. So when you go into something like this, Dallas, when you're going to walk into the session this afternoon, what are you going to say? What's your opening remarks? What do you address when you start talking?
Yeah, well, my opening remark is actually a story about a well-known private enterprise in the Capital Region. It's a company that we all know, most of us know. It's called Viking Air.
Yeah.
Viking Air is one of the largest private-owned employers in the region. But if you think about it in the context of our regional planning situation, where you have a large employer that's up kind of on the peninsula near the airport. They have over 400 employees at that location. They have another location in Calgary, Alberta. Mm-hmm. And obviously, as a global company, they're exploring other locations worldwide. So one thing that's restricting this company from success is the employees have nowhere to live in close proximity to the
Central Saanich.
Yeah, in Central Saanich or North Saanich, where they're
North, sorry, yes.
Yeah. So a lot of their employees will live in the West Shore communities where housing is cheaper.
Yeah.
But think about that. So you're commuting to work every day. One of the most attractive elements of the Victoria, of living and working in Victoria, is the short commute times.
Yeah.
So if you're stuck in a commute time, 45 minutes every morning and afternoon, kind of grow tired of that after a while.
Call would crawl.
Yeah. So that affects Viking Air's ability to succeed as a company. So what I'm going to do is actually use that story and refer back to some regional planning exercises in how we actually protect our environment, but also set up our infrastructure in a way that enables a company like that to not leave, right? I mean, we talk about sustainability, it goes both ways. You need to keep those jobs so those people have household incomes.
Yeah.
But in the context of our region, because we have 13 municipalities, it makes it fairly complex.
Yeah.
We want to keep Viking Air there, but their employees might live in Colwood or Langford or Victoria or Saanich. So it is a sustainability equation.
So Sheila, the same thing to you. You're going to be a part of this session this afternoon addressing this whole balance thing. What are your opening remarks going to be?
Well, if you were there, you'd see a beautiful series of pictures describing the physical environment that really is what drew a lot of people to the island in the first place. Beautiful sunsets and endangered frog species and gorgeous wildflower meadows.
Yep.
And then really overlaying that, just a reminder around the traditional automatic sort of industry that we go to when we're looking at more economic development is tourism. That's the first thing everybody says. And this is kind of this key part of the dialogue this afternoon. The more people that we all invite onto the island exactly at the same time, the more that diminishes potentially the quality of the experience for the people that came there because they wanted to have that quiet moment in the wildflower meadow. We're also hearing from our community leaders that we don't want to invite people even more onto the island exactly at the time that ferries are overloaded, are too expensive, and we've got water shortages and fire risks. So we're really looking at some of the innovative practices that our island chambers of commerce and arts organizations have done around inviting people off-peak. And we've got fantastic literary festivals, Thanksgiving gallery tours, things that bring a lot of off-island money and investment, support the arts community, and really bump up the quality of life for all of us living on the island so far as bringing culture from other communities, more storytelling right into where we live.
But, the whole theme through this all is balance. I want to thank you both for your time. I know you have to run off and do what you need to do, but the perspective is remarkable. And, transportation is a part of the discussions going on elsewhere in sessions today and tomorrow as well. But thank you both. Dallas Gislason is the Economic Development Officer for the Greater Victoria Development Agency, and Sheila Malcolmson is the Chair for the Islands Trust Council. Thank you both for coming in today, and good luck with your sessions this afternoon. Cheers. Thanks for being here. Okay, so things are going to bust out here in a minute. The keynote luncheon speaker is a guy named Gary Mason, who is a feature writer in the Globe and Mail, who actually is an old buddy of Ian Jessup, who is here today as well. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
You're going to catch it. You spent some time in the media gallery with him.
I did. We were together many years ago. Many years.
So he's going to come and have a little chitty-chat about what's going on in his life and what he does. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll talk to him about his presentation. He's speaking right now.
Yep.
And we'll also just chat about journalism generally.
And you've got some other folks in. You're going to talk about energy,
we're going to
green solutions.
Energy, green solutions. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, which is really interesting, about why people get into business, the risks they take, and stuff like that.
So, and how they stay in business, which is even more important.
That's right. Exactly.
So this is kind of a cool place. Do you like this facility?
This is fantastic, isn't it?
Because you used to be sort of in the conference business.
I used to organize conferences, but never. They were always in hotels.
Yeah.
It was mainly in Vancouver and the conference center.
Yeah.
But this is fantastic.
The building, it's a very open building. There's lots of windows. It's a lot of natural light. It's paper-free. It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, it's very good. Very nice.
So the facility is a bit of the star of the show, but the star of the next show is Ian Jessup, who's coming up with all of his guests live here. We are at the Vancouver Island Conference Centre for the State of the Island Economic Summit. A reminder, the Premier, Christy Clark, will be on with us tomorrow between noon and 1, as will BC Ferry's CEO, Mike Corrigan. Ian Jessup coming up next, right after the news.